Thanksgiving is here, which means we're heading down the stretch in fantasy football leagues. Find out who's a great play rest of the season and who will blow up in your face. All this and more. It's the IBT podcast coming right at you.
I've been going dummy, out of bounds, putting on a clinic. Stick around, carrots in my hardware. KC, caught him in the crosshair. Look at me, been the guy calling Mr. MVP. Keep your ass on the bench by my FTC. Earn my stripes like I fixed this league. Your dog's on the turf, my dog's in the street. You can find me somewhere in between. Never a dull moment like a movie scene. About to do the ops like I did this beat. Let them keep talking RG3. Coming to you live. This is the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast.
All right. It is Tuesday, November 25th, 2024. This is the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, your place for favorite fresh, feel-good take on fantasy football and NFL gambling. We're a day early. It is our annual Thanksgiving episode. Happy Thanksgiving from all of us here at IBT. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock. Tonight, I am joined by a guy who's come on to our staff lately and is an absolute weapon. Whether you're looking for entertainment betting advice, PGA betting advice, or fantasy football advice, he's got you covered. Jake the Snake Perry, how the hell are you, man? I know you're in the Midwest, so I assume you're going to have quite the excellent spread of food this weekend.
Oh, you already know it. Our whole spread, I'm smoking a turkey. We've got mashed potatoes, green bean casserole. We got, homemade rolls, dressing. We got everything.
Okay. What kind of dressing? You got ranch? Out there?
You don't know what dressing is?
Stuffing? Is that stuffing?
It's stuffing, but made with cornbread.
With cornbread.
It's so much better. You got to try.
Really?
It's so
really?
good.
I actually kind of like cornbread a little bit, so that might not be too bad.
It's more of a Southern thing, but it's the way to do it. It's so good.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. I'll definitely take that advice into consideration. We'll have Eric be joining us here in a little bit on the program as well. We've got a stack program for it. It's going to be about as full as my plate on Thursday. Our annual Thanksgiving food comps for our rest of season great plays and landmines. Also, waivers a week early within the scope. And we'll round out the program with From the Forum. Shout out to the IBT family. We appreciate all the support so far this season. We are in the thick of it, but we're still working on some things in the background. So make sure you guys, if you enjoy this type of content, give us a thumbs up on this video. Also, subscribe to the channel if you're new. We got a bunch of new clips out. The Back Road, our NASCAR betting show, is still going strong. PGA season still in full swing. And Jake, you've been working on a new project with Steve and Trash Sandwiches called Popcorn and Root Beer. That is our entertainment betting show. You guys are hitting a couple winners out there, building the bankroll, man.
I'm just saying we're hitting right now. There's no reason not to tail because it's working.
Yeah. Make sure you guys are checking out their latest episode. They just talked about Wicked, Gladiator 2, a couple of those new movies that are coming out, and how you can get invested there. And Oscars are right around the corner as well. So make sure you guys are checking that out. We got Tyler hanging out with us saying turkey and dressing is that fire. All right. Tyler knows. Tyler
gets it.
Apparently, I've just been, and I will talk about stuffing later in the show because I do think stuffing is maybe the best thing at Thanksgiving. And the fact that I've been doing it wrong hurts my soul a little bit, to be honest with you, Jake. So I'm here for all your Thanksgiving takes. Let us know in the chat. Let us know also, who are you thinking is going to be a great play down the stretch, or who do you think is going to be a landmine? Let us know. Give us some of your Thanksgiving food comps. We're going to get right into it, though, with some headline hijinks. All right, we're talking headline hijinks. We're gonna bump in a man here as well. He's our big business head over here, light ranching son of a bitch, Eric Romoff. Eric, happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for showing up a little late. I'm sure that's how you appear at your dinner as well.
Yeah, never better late than never. Never late is better. I'm over here live sweating this Monday night football game. I got some pretty interesting looking tickets. So happy to be in here and celebrate this halftime right.
Have you cashed any yet so far?
No, I'm playing a little DFS tonight. I decided to
Okay.
go with the Thursday through Monday slate because I wanted to get into this game. So been riding these
Oh,
builds for 4 or 5 days now.
wow, that's some degen shit, my friend. But I wouldn't leave it up to anyone else other than you, Eric. As you know, we are talking headline hijinks. We're comparing players who we think are going to be great plays or landmines down the stretch. And I'm going to go ahead and turn over the table to you, man. Who is someone that you're hoping to ride down the stretch? Someone you think that's a landmine, and what's your comp to a Thanksgiving food?
Yeah, so my favorite comp here, one of the players I'm going to ride down the stretch is Baker Mayfield, and I've got Baker Mayfield as Buffalo chicken dip, not something that you typically associate with the Thanksgiving spread, not something that you would typically associate with fantasy production.
Yeah,
Honestly, probably didn't get drafted, probably doesn't even end up on the actual table. It's off to the side with the appetizers, right? And it's not getting its just due. Baker Mayfield out here sitting as QB5 overall in the season, in spite of the fact that he lost both of his top receivers for the vast majority of this year. And what did he do? He just goes out there and starts running the ball left and right, all of a sudden showing that he's got some sneaky legs and some sneaky
yeah,
wheels and finding a way to get it done week in and week out, right? Over that stretch since they lost Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, he's put up 29 points, 24 points, 18 points. Had a bit of a stinker against San Francisco, but still went out and got the dub. And then almost 19 points last week, right? Like just the guy
yeah.
finds a number of ways to get it done, and he is tremendous value, right? Often not drafted where he was drafted very, very late. And I think it's time we give both Baker and the Thanksgiving Buffalo chicken dip a little bit of love.
I appreciate that. First of all, I'm usually the guy who does come strapped with some buffalo chicken dip to Thanksgiving.
Right.
So I appreciate that. Veggie tray this year. We talked about that last episode. We won't get into that whole debate. Also, I will say, Eric, I did put a poll out about if a veggie tray is an acceptable appetizer to bring Thanksgiving. About 60% of the internet, they agree with you. So
No, bro.
apparently it's
We all know we know that you're out here in the big produce echo chamber, right? So it should really be like, I don't know,
hey,
85% of people that say
it
you
is
shouldn't show up to a Thanksgiving with a veggie tray.
fresh off the farm, my friend. Jake, would you're hosting Thanksgiving? If one of your relatives show up with a veggie tray, what are your thoughts? Are you thankful? Are you grateful? Are you gonna snack on? Or are you just kind of like, dude, go fuck yourself?
It's on site. I mean, I replied to that poll and I said it's acceptable but heavily frowned upon. Like
Mm,
at least you're contributing, but
yeah.
at the same time, please take it home with you because I don't want it. Vegetables don't even exist. Why are you bringing them?
Hey, I love them. I'm gonna keep the train rolling this year. But to Baker Mayfield, honestly though, Eric, I think this is a great comp because look, like if there was something in this world that could go wrong, it's been the Buccaneers season, right?
Mhm.
They lose Mike Evans, they lose Chris Godwin, Evans back, but and just reshuffling in the offensive line. Worst went down for a second. This defense, pretty big cheeks, and he is willing them potentially to a playoff spot. I know he's on the outside looking in right now, but if they can keep pace with the Falcons down the stretch, yeah, and like he's doing with a lot of different people, right? Bucky Irving, he's making relevant. He's making guys like Rashad White relevant through the passing game. Kate Auden, it doesn't really matter who he has out there. He's making the most of it. So I like this comp a lot. Jake, what is your first Thanksgiving comp?
Yeah, so I'm sticking with the quarterback train here, but I'm going Bo Nix, just the perfect creamy garlic mashed potatoes. I was a Bo Nix hater, I'll admit it, but the man has proved me wrong. His worst finish over the last 8 weeks of fantasy football has been quarterback 18. He's only been outside of the top 12 3 times during that stretch. Outside of, you could call the Chargers matchup tough in the playoffs, but outside of that, Cleveland's been pretty beatable, and that's before the playoffs. And then we get the playoffs, and that starts out with the Colts, who have been bad. Week 17 for your likely championship week, you get Cincinnati. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better week 17 matchup because you talk about the Buccaneers defense being cheeks. I don't know if I've seen a worse defense in my life than the Bengals this year. They're just terrible.
Yeah, I like the call with this one, honestly. And Bo Nix, I was kind of with you. I didn't love the prospect, especially with his time at Auburn. He was kind of really slow to pick it up there. He goes to Oregon, was really more of a system player, I thought, in a lot of ways. But when I saw the value, especially in Superflex League, he was going like quarterback 30.
Yep.
Same like within an underdog, dude. He's carrying a couple of my underdogs teams to the playoffs right now. So appreciate what Bo Nix has done. He's got a rapport with Cortland Sutton. He's making it happen with Vele as well. And he's a good fit for the Sean McVay offense. I think that's always kind of been the thing. Like, Eric, did we not say coming into the season, like Bo Nix, he's a distributor. He's a guy who he's not going to create a ton on his own, but he can play within a system. And Sean Payton's system is just that.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, right? Because like we talk about Bo Nix, who obviously bounced all over the place in the college ranks. We talk about Baker Mayfield, who did the same thing, just happened to be in the NFL, right? Like sometimes guys need a little bit of time to develop, right? And we're seeing the best version of Bo Nix this year. He definitely fits nicely into this Peyton system. But what I love about him is really twofold. Right now, number 6 in the league in terms of rushing attempts for the quarterback position. He's kind of like he's almost like a rich man's Daniel Jones, right? Like didn't really expect him to have the kind of wheels, but he's getting out there, he's getting those attempts. And you mentioned your best ball exposure to him. Your guy Bo Nix, number 1 in deep ball attempts this year, 48 deep ball passing attempts. That is exactly what you're looking for in those underdog streets.
Jake, I got to ask, so garlic mashed potatoes, is that kind of your thing? Is that your jam? Is that your number 1 play if you're making mash?
Foundational.
It 100% is, and it's not Thanksgiving if there's not garlic mashed potatoes. I'm
okay. So are we just putting in like cloves of garlic in there? Like we get some of the jarred garlic? Like what's the approach in this?
No, we're getting fresh garlic, mincing it up, dropping it in there, making all the mashed potatoes. You're adding garlic salt to it, especially if you get the garlic salt that's got the parsley in it, because it looks like you put something fancy in there. My garlic is like whatever the recipe calls for, you just triple it, and it's still probably not enough.
I like that. Hey, not only are we getting some good fantasy advice, some good cooking advice as well. What did you call it? Fixing? Is that what you call your stuffing? Dressing. Do you have dressing, Eric? Is that something you partake in as well?
Yeah, so I was indoctrinated into the world of dressing. It was always stuffing for me coming up, but as I've expanded my horizons here in the Deep South, I have learned that it is properly referred to as dressing and also properly prepared, right? That stuffing that you're getting out of that box, that has nothing on what dressing is, right? And it is it's a revolutionary moment, right? You have dressing for the first time, like some spicy sausage rice dressing. Woo! That is the first day of the rest of your life. Got to get down south for some Thanksgiving.
You absolutely have to.
Okay. I will say, so I'm going to go with my first comp. And look, I know we all grow up and as kids, mashed potatoes are all the rave. But I think there comes a day when you mature and you finally realize that stuffing is actually the star of the show on Thanksgiving. Apparently, it's actually dressing, which I didn't even know about until tonight. So I can't wait to try that. But I mean, I'm with you, Eric. None of that stovetop shit. Like I'm talking about the old fashioned, like you're cubing up bread, you're cutting an onion, you're putting garlic, whatever else into it as well. But Bucky Irving is the stuffing of the 2024 fantasy football season. He was the running back 28 in points per game, minimum 3 games played coming into week 12. He just exploded for his biggest game of the season, 27.1 PPR points. That'll obviously be much higher. He has finished as an RB1 3 times, RB2 4 times, RB1 once, and he's only finished outside of the top 40 twice. The last time that came in week 6. I think Bucky Irving has what it takes, honestly, to be a good running back in this league. He's incredibly efficient when you compare him to what Rachaad White's been doing, 5.4 yards per carry, 94% catch rate. He has caught 32 of 34 targets, first among running backs, 6th among running backs in yards per touch, 3rd in juke rate. And according to late round QB, just outsnapped Rachaad White for the first time this season, ran 20 routes to his 10. The Buccaneers are tied with the Lions for the easiest rest of season schedule for running backs. Bucky is homemade stuffing, and I'm eating it all, Eric. I'm eating it all.
Yeah, go back for seconds on that. You mentioned that Bucky Irving finally outsnapped Rachaad White this week. it was still close, right? 34 for Irving, 32 for Rachaad White. So he did get on the right side of that split. What will be really interesting to see how it goes from week 13 on, right? Obviously, Irving had that explosive game in a game where I think it was 4 different Buccaneers scored a touchdown, right? So
Yeah.
basically anyone who was carrying the ball was
John
finding the end
Tucker.
zone last week, but Baker Mayfield included. But we'll see how they deploy these running backs heading into week 13, right? Is this, just happenstance? He had the hot hand, he gets a few extra snaps and, surpasses Rachaad White, or is this the point where we really see him take that big step forward? And next week, we're talking about a 60-40 split in his favor. If I'm the Buccaneers, like you said, they're fighting for playoff contention. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see them continue to stick with the hot hand.
Yeah, and Jake, it feels like he and the running backs in general have taken a lot of that short work that Chris Godwin was getting earlier in the year. So, do you like Irving rest of season? Do you like him better than Rachaad White?
I'm still a Rachaad White believer. My main issue with Bucky is just I don't know what the usage looks like week to week, and that's something that I really tend to favor.
Sure.
Like Bucky didn't get a touch until their second drive, and then Sean Tucker and Rachaad got most of the work on the first drive, and then it was Bucky's game for a while, and then we'd see drives that were all Rachaad, then we'd see Tucker, and then he fumbled, and so they're like, well, we're not going to use him again. Yeah. And then Bucky's snap share really went up from there. It's just too many mouths to like have a ton of confidence in them. But I mean, given the fact that Bucky's still not rostered at near the level he should be, if you could pick him up, you could definitely do. I just start Javonte Williams this week in a league. I would have much rather have started Bucky Irving, even not knowing how the outcomes were.
I think he's a high-end running back too, rest of the way. Maybe I'm high on him. I know I'm higher than consensus on that ranking, but to me, there are very few running backs. Like he is the Jahmyr Gibbs of this team. If you would say, you know what I mean? Like there are a lot of times that you don't see Jahmyr Gibbs for the first series. That's David Montgomery, and he's the more explosive player. He's the player who can score from further out. So yeah, give me all the Bucky Irving I can get. Jake, I do want to turn it back to you though. What is your next Thanksgiving food comp with either someone you think who is going to be a landmine down the stretch or someone who you think is a great play?
Yeah, so I'm going with again sticking with running backs here. Going with Rhamondre Stevenson, and he's corn pudding.
Oh, I like corn pudding.
I don't. I hate corn.
Not
a pudding guy in general. It's just not a great combination for me. And Rhamondre's usage is getting really concerning. Just was out snapped for the first time by Antonio Gibson this past week. He's had games where he looks like himself, and then there's games where it just seems like he has no idea how to play football. And I think the Patriots are frankly just kind of over that, which is why we saw more Antonio Gibson. Now, will that be the case moving forward with game scripts and whatnot? I think it's probable because I don't think the Patriots are that good. I think we see more Antonio Gibson rest of the season, and I think Rhamondre is kind of just left out in the dirt.
It's tough. Like we know he has the contract, but there are a lot of question marks in general in New England right now, Eric. I mean, Jerod Mayo taking some shrapnel on the internet right now. Other than Drake May and Demario Douglas, like, can you trust anyone in your lineup from New England? Do you think you can trust Rhamondre? It's more just like kind of a plug your nose, put him in running back too, and like you're not happy about it. Really more of a flex if you had a better running back too.
Yeah, I'll double back for a second. I don't know if you can necessarily trust Pop Douglas, right? He's got a solid floor, right? But you're not
fine, man. Pop, I've been riding Pop and Scott Fishbowl. He's been helping me out.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, like a 10,000 person tournament. Yeah, sure.
Well, I'm just listen. I got some teams right now that could use some Pop Douglas. I'll say that much.
He's got a nice floor, and he's been more consistent than I think we thought. In terms of Rhamondre Stevenson, I almost think he's kind of like a poor man's comp on Jake's evaluation of Bucky Irving, right? You just kind of don't really know what his role is going to be in any given week, but he doesn't have the same explosive upside, right? And like Jake mentioned, he looks like he's completely lost out there sometimes, and specifically he's looked real lost in pass pro, and I don't think the Patriots are trying to get their rookie quarterback blown up. So, I don't want to portray myself as one who might be in an NFL front office or coaching staff, but if I was, I would certainly be putting out the guy that's a little bit more stable in pass pro to protect the foundational piece of my franchise.
Yeah. And Eric, do you like corn pudding? Have you ventured into those streets yet?
I think this might be one of those weird naming convention things. I'm not exactly sure what corn pudding is. I've had like corn souffle, which is kind of like it's like an undercooked cornbread, which is a weird thing to say out loud. That's
Oh.
pretty solid. If we're just like the imagery of like corn inside of some Jello pudding makes me want to like rip my eyes out. I don't know exactly what corn pudding
It's
is.
pretty close to what you described.
What? No. Oh, dude. I grew up on.
Not the corn in pudding description. It's like an undercooked cornbread souffle.
Yeah.
Corn casserole kind of joint.
I think actually that's exactly what it is.
Like an undercooked corn quiche.
Yeah. I can get down with that, but I'm putting some faith in the chef and the sous chef, right? Like if you get a nice caramel, nice crisp on the top of that, all right, I'll put some on the plate. If it's just like squishy and wet, get out of here.
Yeah.
It's never touching my plate, and I'm not touching Rhamondre the rest of the season.
Oh, come on.
I hate corn. It's not a taste thing, it's a texture thing for me, but still I
like corn on the cob?
Nope. I'll eat popcorn. Like I'll eat corn nuts.
Ooh.
Those work.
Even like corn in like some Mexican, like street corn?
Nope.
Like street corn dip?
Nope.
Wow.
Can't do it.
We're learning a lot about Jake tonight. I'll tell you what. Living
surrounded by corn my entire life, you would think that I like it, but no, it's just one of those things. I can't do it.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's overexposure.
Possibly.
You've been forced into corn culture, and
just
now
like Rhamondre
back.
Just like Rhamondre's got it on all his teams. Eric, I'm throwing it back to you, man. Who's your second food comp?
Yeah, second food comp, heading on the negative side here. Kyren Williams, and I've got him as green bean casserole. I thought long and hard about this comp because I feel like it's almost word association when people start listing off classic Thanksgiving dishes. Like, yeah, green bean casserole on the table every single time. But you take a closer look, you actually put some of it on your plate. Maybe it gets a little bit cold. Not really all that great. And I think that's exactly what's going on with Kyren Williams here. He currently sits as the running back 10 in total fantasy points, running back 12 in fantasy points per game. But almost all of this is volume based, right? We've talked about this in terms of targeting Blake Corum as a sneaky upside stash, right? Kyren Williams currently has the second highest snap share, 88% in all of the league. The third highest opportunity share, 84% in that regard. He basically gets all of the work there for the LA Rams, and he does almost nothing with it. He is 42nd in yards per carry. He's 45th in yards per touch. The thing that's really the death nail here, he's below. He's got a negative differential in terms of his expected fantasy points per game. So based on the volume he's getting, the blocking that's in front of him, he should be scoring more than the 16.5 fantasy points he's giving you right now. I mean, look, from a fantasy standpoint, like you got to keep rolling him out there. As long as he gets that volume, he's going to be solid, but maybe not exactly the best dish on merit itself.
Yeah, green bean casserole, it's got to be made by the right person. That's one thing I will say. If you got someone knows how to throw the right amount of French's onions on there and maybe a little bit of cheese as well, like that shit can slap, but it's got to be done well. Kyren Williams, I kind of feel similar about too. Like I think everyone was kind of raving about him early in the season, and he was just getting a ton of volume falling into the end zone every single week. He's still doing a lot of that, and I think he'll still be okay. But I think the people who, at least I have seen, who own Kyren Williams, they aren't doing as well down the stretch because he isn't doing as well. So I think you're spot on there. Jake, do you have any more optimism than we do for Kyren rest of the season? Do you think it could get better?
I do. I think, the matchups aren't overly favorable rest of season for them. So I will caveat it with that. But when it comes to fantasy football, my biggest thing, like my biggest plus for a player, favorite thing to look for is just volume, because anything can happen on a football field. We've seen Kyren break big big runs. Admittedly, they haven't happened a ton this year. He's still evading tackles. He's 7th in the league in evaded tackles so far this year. Given, a lot of carries, a lot of receptions, that'll help. But they've just recently, their touchdowns have been bigger touchdowns. They've played against teams that know how to stop Kyren by just throwing 9 dudes in the box and just press covering the 2 wide receivers that are out there, waiting for the blocks to happen. I still believe in Kyren rest of the season, but I think the comp works really well because Kyren for the entire offseason and even into the season has been an either you love it or you hate it kind of guy.
Sure.
And that's right where green bean casserole falls. Like, I'm not a huge fan. I love to scrape the onions off the top. That's my favorite part.
Yeah.
I don't need the green beans. Like, just give me cream of mushroom soup covered in the French onions and I'm good. But
Jake's got to figure it out here. I am notorious for grabbing some onions off the top of the green bean casserole, put it on top of your mac and cheese or something.
Oh yeah.
Those onions are the star of the show.
When we were getting groceries, I made sure to grab a second one. I might just even walk around with it and snack on it throughout the day, honestly.
Right?
That's a good play. That's a good play, my friend. And yeah, love the comp there from Eric. Some check-ins from the chat. We got Michael saying, "Hey guys, how are you, turkeys?" We're doing good, Mike. We're doing good, man. Hope you're doing good as well. Thanks for checking in while you're hanging out and watching Monday Night Football. Tyler saying stuffing and dressing is the same. Stuffing made by itself, and stuffing made inside the turkey. So what you guys are saying is made with cornbread, right? That's kind of is that what your dressing is as well, Eric? It's made with cornbread.
I've fully converted to where my dressing is largely rice based. It's like rice, a little bit of celery, some sausage in there.
For real?
Yeah. It's like a Cajun style rice dressing.
Okay. Wow. All right. We're learning a lot about food. That's okay, but you can't have that at Thanksgiving, right?
It is made for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I will round us out here with Travis Etienne. Oh man, this is a tough one. I've shared my opinion on this show that I actually think ham is the superior holiday meat. Turkey, I think turkey can be awesome. I'll eat turkey sandwich for days after Thanksgiving. However, dry ass turkey is mid at best. And has to be smothered either in ranch or gravy. And I don't want to shame anyone, but there's always people who are making dry ass turkey and no one in their family can ball up and tell them they're making dry ass turkey. And I won't be that person to step up, but someone out there should. Just keep that in mind. If friends don't let friends make dry ass turkey, right, Eric? I mean, are you making dry ass turkey?
100%. Yeah, the revelations continue here. Don't think it's lost on me that you snuck in the fact that you're bringing some pocket ranch to Thanksgiving for your turkey.
It's more.
I don't know if I've ever seen anyone bust out the ranch at the Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I can't say that I have either.
So
it's more for the sandwiches afterwards. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll throw a little.
Yeah. That's a nice recovery. I can't. That image is not going to leave my mind. It's you. Just with a jug of Hidden Valley in your hand at the Thanksgiving table. We need to have a very serious conversation about the public service that people offer. If someone is bringing a dry ass turkey, a bunk dish to your Thanksgiving, you have a duty to tell them. If someone shows up to your house with a veggie tray, for example,
but what if they're the host of Thanksgiving? Do you tell?
You gotta let them know.
Yeah,
you gotta let them know.
Why do you think I started smoking turkey?
Someone told you?
No, I took it over. I was just I can't deal with this dry ass turkey anymore. Yeah. I'm making my own.
Yeah, because there's a person I'd like to name on the show, but I don't think she watches it, so I think I'll be okay. But yeah, every year the conversation, we're at the kids' table, and the conversation at the kids' table is, man, this is some dry ass turkey. Who's gonna tell her? And no one ever does.
Bro, you gotta graduate to the grown-up table before you can be throwing some feedback like that, though.
I mean, yeah, but the kids' tables, 18 to 20 or 18 to 35, I would say, but yeah, you're right.
Let her rip, right? Feedback is a gift. Clarity is kindness.
It is. Yeah, just don't be making fucking mid-ass turkey. But anyways, the comparison here is Travis Etienne. RB 39 in points per game. He has not topped 15 points per reception points, PPR points anytime this season, or finishes the RB20 or better anytime this season. The concerning part, too, is Tank Bigsby. He was hurt in week 10, didn't play in week 11. Etienne saw 68, 75% snaps in those games, and still only combined for 11.6 fantasy points in those 2 games. Jaguars have the 6th toughest rest of season strength of schedule for the running back position. Like, I think outside of week 16 against the Raiders, Etienne's, he's nothing more than a desperation flex, which that sucks. He's a guy I rode to championships last season. Didn't get him as much this year because he was higher cost, but I think he's just dry ass turkey, boys.
It's so hard to disagree. I'm solely blaming Travis Etienne for me missing playoffs and Scott Fishbowl.
That's the only league I have him, and he's been nothing. I'm literally talk about Pop Douglas. Like, I'm literally throwing Pop Douglas out there in whatever round of the playoffs is ripping this upcoming week. I'm throwing Pop Douglas over Etienne. I just can't trust him. And in that format, RBs are so heavy too.
Yeah, it's hurt so bad. I was 11-1, missed playoffs. Talk about a true heartbreaker.
You are 11-1. You needed 2 more wins against me. What? Oh.
He was hurt, or he was hurt for a bit and bad. And then DK was hurt. Neighbors missed time. Like, every good player I had missed time at some point. But I mean, Etienne, like you said, just no performance. I would like to blame it on just the offensive incompetency in general.
Yeah.
But like, at the same time, like, if you look like on Player Profiler, his run blocking rating from last year to this year, really no difference. Like, it's just so gross. Can we get Doug Peterson and Press Taylor out of the NFL, please?
God, how does Press Taylor continue to avoid like the heat? He should have been fired ages ago, and there's never any rumblings about getting that dude out of there.
I need to know what he has over Doug Peterson.
Yes, yeah. I've been asking that same damn question, Jake. Yes, absolutely. It's absurd. Yeah, I don't like it would take ETN plus something extremely good, I feel like, for me to even consider like them for Bucky Irving, right? Like Bucky Irving, I would much rather have Bucky Irving. I'd much rather, I don't know if I'd rather him or Rhamondre, guys. Rest of the season, who do you like better?
I would go ETN there, but I think I've got a little bit more of an optimistic view, right? Like, he's still dry ass turkey, right? But like, I got a jug of Hidden Valley ready to sauce this bad boy up, right? Like, these last 2 games have been tough, granted, but they're against very stout defenses, Minnesota and Detroit, respectively. They were Mac Jones games. Honestly, the thing with Travis Etienne for me more than anything else is really just watching the opportunity split between him and Tank Bigsby, right? Obviously, Tank was out last game. He played only into the end of the 3rd quarter the game before. So I'm curious to see, like, if we get back to a point where he's now definitively taking 65, 68, 70% of the opportunities out of that backfield, I think he's got some potential, right? But it's an open question, and you can't really have that sort of variability in your lineup as you get into the playoffs, right?
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly there. Some takes from Michael in the chat saying Christian Kirk was my dry ass turkey this year. Yeah, I have him in a dynasty league. I was trying to trade him before the season. No one would bite, and I wish I would have just got something. So I'm with you there. Also, throwing out sweet potato casserole with marshmallows.
So good.
Ooh,
so good.
This was only ever on the table when I was like 5 or 6 or very young, and I haven't had it since. I think I might get down with it now. Jake, pretty good little
I
dish.
love it. I love sweet potatoes in general. It's my preferred way to eat potatoes outside of mashed potatoes. But sweet potato casserole, like you said, with marshmallows, you get the brown sugar on there. There's a little honey on it. Honestly, it's the best Thanksgiving dessert that you can have.
Yo.
Wow. Okay.
I was thinking about a sweet potato casserole comp too. I didn't know if it'd be positive or negative, but I was gonna go with the aforementioned Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, both solid components in and of themselves, but so much better together.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Yeah. Good throw out there, Michael. Good throw out there, man. We appreciate that. Guys, let's go ahead. Let's do waivers a week early. We'll also talk on some mainstream targets because we're Monday right now. It's Monday, so we got to about good 24 hours for that information to still be relevant. So yeah, let's move forward here and in the scope.
I have the targets in my sights.
Requesting permission to engage.
In the scope.
All right, it's waivers a week early. Who will be the biggest waiver wire claims following week number 13 that you can get for free now? We're going to start with the mainstream targets. These are the guys that you're probably going to spend some fab on. If you do want to pick them up, starting at the quarterback position, Drake May, he's been a guy I've been shouting from the ceiling top for a couple weeks in the scope, trying to get you guys to pick him up. I think he's still a decent stretch or going to be a good play down the stretch. Kind of struggled this past week, if we're going to be honest with you, was bailed out by a 4th and 15 lob city to Austin Hooper. So I appreciated that. But Drake May, I think he's the guy. He has wheels. He's getting better. Matthew Stafford also had a big game. Jake, if there's one of these two quarterbacks that you had to pick up off the waiver wire and spend up for a little bit and put some fab on it, is it May or Stafford for you?
It's always Drake May. Drake May was my quarterback too the entire time. I never wavered off of that. I still don't regret that at all. Everybody was so worried about his game translating to the NFL. It translated perfectly. He's awesome. Especially when you look at, I was looking on PFF earlier today because I was looking at somebody. I posted all of the rookie quarterback stats and somebody replied back, "Oh, you left out sacks. It's a quarterback stat." And I was like, not really. It can be, but it's not exclusively. And then seeing that Drake May was the lowest amongst all of the main 4 rookie quarterbacks in pressure to sack rate. 80% of the pressures allowed by the Patriots are allowed by the offensive line. His responsibility was the lowest of all rookie starting quarterbacks and was 20th over all starting quarterbacks. So it's like the dude is just good at football and we just have to accept that. Yeah, the interceptions have been there, but he's playing for the Patriots. He's just trying to make shit happen.
He also doesn't have the best targets, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking about Pop Douglas and Keyshawn Butte the last couple of weeks.
We're talking about Austin Hooper returning from the dead. I thought this dude retired like 7 years ago.
I still remember flaming somebody in a league one time because they traded a 1st-round pick for Austin Hooper when he signed that big contract
with the Browns. Yeah.
I was like, this is dumb. Why are we doing this?
Hey man, he was just 6.5 years ahead of schedule. He's a visionary.
Never wrong, just early.
Eric, I have talked about Drake May quite ad nauseum this season. He's someone that I'm in a pickle in a couple leagues, and he is my quarterback 1 right now, and there's really no other better option in sight. Like the Bo Nix of the world are long gone. The Justin Herberts are gone. I mean, I could probably get away with the Jared Goff if I wanted to, but I'm kind of cool with rolling Drake May the rest of the way. Is that a mistake? I know he has a bye in week 14. Obviously, got to have to make some plans there at that point. But are you cool with it?
Generally, right. I guess like in a vacuum, right? Drake May versus replacement level player that's available on the wire, probably, right. Maybe the only name that I would go the other direction on is the other one here in the mainstream targets, Matthew Stafford. Just legitimately different player when he's got both Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp out there. I would probably take Stafford over Drake May, but everyone else, right? Like if you're looking at Goff, if you're looking at, I don't even really know who else might be out there, right? Gino throws a lot, which I like, but he's subject to being up and down, right? Like it's hard to find these kind of middling quarterbacks that are going to offer you the same floor that Drake May does with his rushing.
Yeah.
And like, for however flashy he's been over the first couple of weeks that he's been starting, I mean, we certainly haven't seen his true upside yet, right? Like he can definitely have a game or two where it all clicks and all of a sudden he's, easily creeping into the top 8, 10 at the position. Yep.
Looking at the running back mainstream waiver wire targets, Amir Abdullah, 19.3% rostered. Jerry McNichols, 1.2% rostered for the Washington Commanders. Tank Bigsby coming back off injury. We spoke on Travis Etienne earlier in the program, 33.4% rostered. Roshan Johnson available in over 85% of leagues. Trey Benson still out there. Cam Akers. If you have Aaron Jones, I would definitely recommend having Cam Akers. First of all, Eric, I got to say, last week you were on top of the Raiders situation. We thought, hey, there's a good chance Zamir Alexander Madison could be out and the starter could be out on the waiver wire that you can grab after waivers run for free. I went with that. I picked up Laub. I didn't start him, and my opponent picked up Amir Abdullah, and he played him against me, and I lost because of that. So
Oh man.
yeah, it was. I should have picked them up both. Honestly, I had the room.
Yeah.
I should have probably gone with both of them, but yeah. So I also benched Keenan Allen. So and played the Giants defense. So it was one of many contributing factors. I should add, but at the same time, Amir Abdullah, like it looks like he might be a guy here as long as Alexander Madison, Zamir White are out.
Yeah. I mean, he'll certainly have the role, right?
They fucking hate Lob.
Yeah, it looked for a second like Lob might be getting involved. He had a huge return to kick off the game. It seemed like there was some momentum there, and they're like, nah, we'll just keep him on special teams and bring this practice squatter up, which is the nature of In the Scope, right? Amir Abdullah was one of our mainstream targets last week, and went down here in the scope. We're talking about guys that, you can go out and get the next morning for free and take a little speculative add on. But Abdullah, I mean, he certainly he looked like he checked a lot of boxes. He was really effective as a receiver too. And you think about this Raiders offense, they're probably going to be trailing and needing to throw a lot. So, maybe he etched out a little bit more work even when the two guys in front of him return.
It will likely be Desmond Ridder this week, unless Aiden O'Connell can get back healthy at some point. Gardner Minshew out for the rest of the season, broken collarbone. So I think the Raiders offense, like, say what you want about Minshew, if it is Ridder, he is a clear upgrade over there.
Mm-hmm.
Jake, we got Mike in the chat saying that he thinks McNichols will go for 10 to 20% of fab. If you got it right now, how much you spending on McNichols? If you need a play, we got Austin Eckler concussed for the second time this season. He went to the hospital yesterday for further evaluation. Brian Robinson in and then out with an ankle injury, came back in and then out again. How much you spending up on McNipples, as I call him?
I'm spending whatever I have left, honestly. Like you said, we're on the second concussion this year for Austin Eckler, who already had a history of concussions in his career, both in college and the NFL. Brian Robinson has had zero ability to stay healthy this year. It's a hamstring, it's an ankle, it's the knee. It's been a bit of everything. And McNichols, when he's gotten play, has been effective. He's shown some prowess both in the receiving game and, on the ground. And like you said, this is a team where Washington's defense is not world beaters by any means. The offense is getting a ton of opportunities to throw the ball. They're using running backs super effectively. He's my favorite one on this list just because I know he's got a role next week. Like,
yeah,
if Madison is back, we don't know what's going on with Abdullah. Bigsby is going to be a split, and just with the offense being gross, I don't like it there. The rest of those guys are handcuffs at best, whereas like McNichols is the starting running back for the Washington Commanders next week.
Yeah, great point there. Looking at the wide receiver position, Nick Westbrook-Akine, this guy just keeps catching touchdowns 6 out of the last 7 weeks. This man's come down with one. Talk about another guy who's helped me and Scott Fishbowl at the wide receiver position. Xavier Legette, 36.3% rostered. I mean, not hitting double digits all the time, but he's not leaving you hanging either. Demario Douglas, we mentioned him earlier in the show. Shout out to Steve Lawson, our other co-host. He highlighted Devon Vele as his in the scope target. Devon Vele goes and has the game of his career. He's working out of the slot there for the Denver Broncos. He's looking great. The rookie out of Utah. Marquise Valdez-Scantling, wide receiver for the New Orleans Saints. I hate him. Not my favorite player in the world. We have a bit of a rivalry. We like to go back and forth, more just one side. Never heard back from him yet, of course, but still waiting on that. But yeah, he's catching the long balls. He's kind of playing that Rashid Shaheed role there. Noah Brown for the Commanders as well. He's someone I highlighted about 5 weeks ago that I thought was going to pop off a little bit earlier. He's starting to kind of get it. 10 targets this past week. Eric, who's your favorite wide receiver on this list?
I'll probably stick with old tried and true Asparagus, Xavier Legette. He's got the most well-defined role, right? Probably the safest floor out of this lot. I do like a lot of what we saw about out of Devon Vele last week. He jumped up to 65% snap share. The wide receiver 2 has really been kind of a revolving door there in Denver, but it looks like he's starting to establish himself a little bit. And like we talked about when we were chatting about garlicky mashed potato Bo Nix, right? Dude chucks the ball downfield a ton, right? Like,
Yeah.
if we're talking about where to target a number 2 option, the guy that's in the offense that throws the ball vertically is a pretty good place to start.
Yeah. Great call out there. Jake, anyone differently that you're interested in this group?
Yeah, I'm actually really in on Noah Brown right now. You mentioned bringing him up about a month ago. Over the last 4 games, he's out targeted Terry McLaurin 26-17.
Wow.
He had a 26.3% target share, I think, this past week. Like, he's earned a very legitimate role in this offense. And I feel like this is Noah Brown each of the last 4 years. I feel like I remember him being relevant for the last 5 weeks of the season after doing nothing prior. But I mean, the usage is really, really clear. Outside of week 9 against the Giants, he's been 80+% snap share, running 30+ routes, 6 or more targets in for the last 5. Like, the dude's got a role at this point. And yeah, his only touchdown this year was the Hail Mary against Chicago. I don't want to talk about it. But you can't deny the role. And again, this is an offense that throws the ball a ton. Jaden Daniels is not afraid to let it fly, as we've seen. And there's a chance that Noah Brown is, a legitimate, wide receiver 3 flex rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Mike saying Vele, strong flex play rest of the season, especially in deeper leagues. Also telling Jake that he might go out and spend 20% on McNichols now. He needs a running back, 11-1 in his league, but he does Tracy, Hunt, Roschon, Dobbins. Yeah, go.
Do it.
Yeah.
Dobbins left tonight with a knee injury.
Yep. Left towards the end of the first half.
Well, I guess while we're kind of talking waiver wire players, like Gus Edwards probably added to this list as well, and probably
100%.
Vidal as well. Like, he's been getting. I guess we've also seen Haskins, so I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess
Vidal was inactive today, and Haskins was active as the 3. So
yeah, Michigan guy. So that might be the case, but speculative add. Those running backs too. See what happens there. Mainstream waiver wire tight end options: Will Dissly, Dawson Knox, Noah Gray. Old Disser's been getting it done. Dawson Knox coming back from bye. We're not sure the stats on Dalton Kincaid, so that might be a mute point. Noah Gray, though. Do you guys like Noah Gray at all? Is this bad? Dude, Noah Gray bailed me out of some fucking leagues last week. He was a spot start in multiple leagues. Is there something I was talking about to Boggs with it on the Fantasy Pros Fantasy Football podcast on Sunday night, guys, and I feel like he's the 4th best pass catcher on this team, right? Like, he's better. I know we were high on Juju, but I think the magic with Juju's over. He's a better pass catcher than Watson. Like, it's Worthy, it's DeAndre Hopkins, it's Kelsey, and then I feel like it's Noah Gray. And so is there actual value here? Do you think it's just unless you're in a tight end premium or a super deep league?
I mean, he's got touchdown upside right now. But I mean, it's just the nature of that offense. Like, they've had to change their games even just this year just so many times. Like, they've been super, super run heavy, just hold the clock as much as we can. And then recently they've been throwing it more. The addition of Hopkins helps. But I mean, teams can only give so much attention to D-Hop and Kelsey when they're on the field. And with Kansas City running more, 2 tight end sets and Gray being the preferred guy out there, I'm not saying he's a must start right now, but he's definitely a guy that I'm considering picking up for a deep run.
Yeah, definitely fair to say that he's probably the 4th best receiver on this team. But you look at what he's done over the last 2 weeks. Obviously, back-to-back games with 2 touchdowns is going to put him immediately near the top of pretty much any tight end scoring list over the last month or so. But if you kind of remove those scores, we're talking about a guy that's getting 4 catches for 35 yards, right? It's kind of right in the middle point of the tight end middle class, which is a nice step forward for him, right? So if his floor is 5-6 points and his upside is 2 scores in any given week, there's a pretty short list of guys that you can say that about at this position.
Well, I mean, he's running 76% of snaps, 59% of snaps, 69, 72. Those numbers are pretty much what Xavier Worthy's running, more than what Hop's running at this point.
Well, those are snaps, right? Like he
snaps. Yeah,
blocks a fair
sorry.
amount.
Yeah,
Routes,
yeah,
he's
yeah,
closer to like
yeah.
45-50%, which again is a step forward for him, right? He was always just kind of like the blocking / gadget guy, and now he's got a legitimate role, right?
Yeah, it's good to see. Let's get your in the scope targets though. Eric, who is someone you're targeting after waivers run?
I'm gonna go out and scoop up some Tyrod Taylor. He potentially is going to be stepping into this role as rumors are swirling about what the Jets will do with Aaron Rodgers going forward. And if he does step into this role, he steps into an offense that plays at a very fast pace. They've attempted the 7th most passing attempts per game this year, and his protection is really solid. 91% protection rate, the 3rd highest in the entire league. So, stepping into a situation where he can get protected, where they're not afraid to throw the ball around the yard, and throwing 2 targets like Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson, it's kind of hard to find someone else off the wire that you're going to be able to say that about at this point in the season. And because they're on a bye week, I don't think they're really getting a whole lot of attention, these Jets players. So I think you can get them for free or for very cheap.
Are they really going to go away from Aaron Rodgers? He's the best thing that has happened to them at quarterback. Dude, he hasn't been.
His Jets highlight includes him running out with the flag 2 years ago, and then the tape's over.
What do
you
you
threw that Hail Mary? That was pretty sick.
What do you think, Jake? Do you think is this a mistake? I think it's a mistake, man. I know he hasn't been great, but like some of those games, that one game when he came back in the second half and was slinging the pill all over the place to Garrett Wilson, like he still got it. He still got it, man.
Yeah, but it's the consistency of old Aaron Rodgers is just completely gone. Like you're praying that he captures that gas in a bottle. Next year he's going to be 42. They save $9 million against the cap next year if they cut him in the offseason. Actually, as long as it's a post June 1st cut for next year, save $9.5 million. They have other contracts that are coming up. They fired their GM, fired their head coach. Like I think it's just going to be a complete tear down and rebuild.
It's like the Giants, right? Like they're not out there trying to win right now.
It's just crazy. They just traded for Devontae. That was like, that was a month ago. It was 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, whatever that was.
Life comes at you fast, Aaron.
It does. It does. God damn it. All right, Jake, what do you got for us in the scope?
Yeah, I'm going with the guy I talked about a little bit earlier, Antonio Gibson. I think he's a better running back than Rhamondre Stevenson. I've always been a big Antonio Gibson believer. I think he was just horribly misused in his role. We're talking about a guy who was a wide receiver converted to running back, a lot like Tyrone Tracy was. But Gibson is much more athletic than Rhamondre Stevenson. I don't think anybody is questioning that. But when you just look at what he's been able to accomplish this year, even in limited touches, we're talking about a guy who only has 72 rush attempts, still got 310 yards, 4.3 yards per carry, second highest of his career, averaging nearly 10 yards a reception right now as well. Like this team needs playmakers, and Rhamondre just is not that right now. Rhamondre is a solid piece who can move the chains for you when you need it to, but there's just nothing exciting coming out of Rhamondre right now. And I think that Gibson can really add another dimension to this offense.
You must have been hanging out with Steve a lot this season, my friend, because he's been smoking this Gibson pack hard all year long. I've just been down this road with Gibson. It's hard to get invested with him. Like I was there at one point. I was throwing him out there, especially that 1 week when Rhamondre Stevenson was out. I was like, oh well, I'm gonna bet all the overs on Antonio Gibson, and I'm gonna throw him on the lineup, and he got me 6-7 points, whatever. But I don't know. It's a little I think it's a good call, and he should be rostered because at this point, all running back 2s on teams should be rostered. So I think that's like more than anything why I would be rostering Gibson. Eric, do you like Gibson down the stretch, or are you okay holding a roster spot on just no New England backfield mates at all?
Yeah, I mean it's tough to feel excited about New England running backs in general, right? But like this is the circumstance by which you go speculate in that market, right? Like we're talking about a world where he could see his playing time increase incrementally, and then he'd be a mainstream target. We could see it increase exponentially, and then he would be like Jeremy McNichols, someone that you would go and fire the rest of your fab at, right? So like you go take that shot now when he's free, or like a 1 to 2% guy, And if things break in your favor, you've extracted a ton of value out of a waiver wire that's pretty barren, right? And the point with Antonio Gibson for me is he looks so much better. It's not a crazy strong suit for him, but he's not leaving Drake May exposed in pass pro the way that Rhamondre Stevenson has this year. That's going to lead to more time on the field. More time on the field leads to opportunity, right? So like you can string together a path where this pays off dividends pretty quickly.
Yeah, hopefully it happens, because I felt like at one point we were going there, and then Rhamondre had a big game or two and they went back to him. But yeah, like the call out there, Jake, nonetheless. I'll round it out with someone for me who I think it's more for tight end premium leagues, or if you need a spot start down the stretch at tight end. Theo Johnson is the clear-cut tight end 1 for the Giants for what that is worth. He has seen 6 targets in 3 straight games and has been the team's second leading receiver or target getter in 2 of those games. Third to Wandale in week 10, tight end 10 in points per game the past 3 weeks coming into week 12. With Tommy DeVito this past week, 20% target share. So I think whether it's the Gabagool kid or if it's Drew Lock under center, I expect them to target the former Nittany Lion tight end down the stretch. Let's not forget as well, Theo Johnson, 9.9 RAS at the combine, relative athletic score, the highest tight end in history of the event. He's number 8 among the tight end position in routes run. Now we're seeing the targets come a little bit as well. I don't know if it can translate to awesome production, but he has the 7th easiest rest of season strength of schedule for tight end. So we are, baby. Let's go, Theo.
I love Theo Johnson. I love dudes who come out of nowhere, are some of the most athletic guys we've ever seen at their position, and then just slowly work their way into a role. I've always also just generally not liked Daniel Bellinger. I never got the hype. So when Theo Johnson came around and just immediately week 1 came out and played 80% of snaps, I was like, yes, they get it. New York's doing something right.
Dude, it's crazy too that he was as athletic as he was, because if you watch Penn State football now, they have this guy named Tyler Warren who's a fucking freak. I mean, he's playing quarterback, he's taking direct snaps in the conversation for the Heisman. Legitimately, he's going to be a guy we're going to talk about all off season long. He'll probably be somewhere in the back end, or maybe not back end of the first round of rookie drafts. He could get there maybe in tight end premium leagues, but definitely second round guy. So I'm going to be all over him, but Theo is nice too. We didn't have a good offensive coordinator at the time to use Theo, Eric. So it was kind of, not a very sought after prospect until the combine.
Yeah, definitely not on as many radars as he should be. I'll leave your suggestion. The Penn State tight end is going to be in the Heisman conversation.
Dude, go look at the odds. I swear to God, go look at the odds.
I think the last odds that I saw were Hunter like minus 800 versus the field.
I think there is a chance that that Tyler Warren will at least get an invite to New York. I can tell you that much right now.
There's a non-zero chance of that. Okay. But back to Theo Johnson producing here in the NFL level. I'm kind of seeing a world, like we've talked about a few times over. He immediately took the field and was out there a ton. We're starting to see that production really show itself a little bit more for a Giants team that's kind of looking for a counterbalance to all of the defensive attention that Malik Neighbors has gotten recently, right? Like, throwing the ball to Wandale Robinson 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage isn't going to draw any defensive attention away from your standout rookie receiver. But Theo Johnson, currently 7th in the league in terms of his average depth of target. So they're actually using him as a mid to downfield weapon at the position. And I think that's a very important counterbalance if they want to try to move the ball down the stretch.
Yeah, agreed with you there. And I will tell you, they have pulled all the most of the Heisman odds as of this week. It looks like we got the top 5 that are left. We got Shador, we got Howard, Gabriel, Ashton, Travis, Cam Ward, but no Tyler Warren on there. So maybe
we are.
He was there. He was 25-1 a couple weeks ago. Sure. I saw it. He was out there.
He was, pal.
I swear.
Throw football over the mountains.
I'm smoking that pack. Don't you worry about it. Let's go ahead. Let's get to everyone's questions. Let us know how we can help you as we round out the program here with a little bit of From the Forum. That's our fantasy football mailbag presented by the Fantasy Football Advice Network.
If you're up, stuck, thinking about what to do, here in between, we got advice for you. Back and forth all day, trying to pick the play. Let's hear what them boys here had to say. presented by the Fantasy Football Advice Network.
All right. Make sure you guys are checking out the Fantasy Football Advice Network. You can find it at fantasyfootballadvice.com. You can find it at the Fantasy Sports Advice Network app. It's available for iOS, Google as well. I know everyone's heading over to the blue sky. I know everyone's, kind of getting sick of the X, but hey, go over, check out the Fantasy Football Advice Network. If you're trying to find direct fantasy football advice, just see Fantasy Football Advice, curate what you're seeing. You can do it right over there. No need to get a Blue Sky account. I know I was on a waiting list for like 2 years to get one of those. I don't know if I ever got it or not. So, but yeah, make sure you guys are checking out Fantasy Football Advice Network. There's league classifieds, there's ZMs. It's gamified. You can build your rank as you continue to communicate, give other people advice, ask questions, interact over there. We appreciate them for sponsoring this segment. Also, appreciate our guy Michael hanging out with us, giving us a nice little super chat. We appreciate it. He's got a question for us. Rank these players rest of season in PPR: Christian McCaffrey, Tony Pollard, Connor, also Hawkinson, Jonnu Smith, and Kelsey Bowers. He needs to trade for a running back. All right, so let's take this. Let's take this. Let's go run it. Let's rank the running backs, then we'll go back to the tight end. So running backs here: Eric, Christian McCaffrey, Tony Pollard, Tyrone Tracy, James Conner. How do you rank those four?
I would go CMC followed by Connor. Then I'll go Tracy and Pollard. I'm still hopeful that we see Tyrone Tracy's full potential as a pass catcher to come. And Tony Pollard, I guess, barring a ongoing injury to Tajay Spears, is really kind of cemented in his role, right? I don't think there's really any upside to his projection. So that's what has him at the end of the list for me.
Okay. How do you feel about it, Jake?
Yeah, exact same thing for me. Exact same order. It's a good spot to be in. These are all consensus top 15 running backs. You really can't go wrong with any of them. CMC, just even though the production hasn't been what it was, I do think I've seen progress in his game from his return game to where we see him now. That quickness is starting to come back a little bit, but it's Christian McCaffrey. They're in a close division. They're going to start leaning on him here really, really soon. So he's still, clears as the one for me. And then all of the other guys are great too, but nobody's CMC besides CMC.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And I thought they were going to ease him back in and use Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason's over there shivering in the coat and not getting any run at all. And so I'm definitely with you. I think CMC is the one. Pollard, Pollard has been really good, dude. I honestly almost think I would put Pollard at 2. That's my only, I think, discrepancy. I think how you guys had it. And Tajay has been banged up, right? I think that's part of it, though. That is probably part of it. But Will Levis starting to get his feet under him a little bit in this offense. Let's look at the tight ends, though, at this point. Jonnu, Kelsey, and Bowers and Hawkinson. Hawk's been sensational since he came back from injury. Jonnu's been an absolute weapon. Shout out to Steve for that call a couple weeks ago as well. Travis Kelsey and Brock Bowers. A lot of people's tight end 1 and tight end 2 rest of season. Jake, do you have an order for these 4?
Yeah, so Bowers is my tight end 1. I'm very confident in that. And then the 3 behind it, I think you could make an argument for any of them. Jonnu's the clear most productive pass catcher in that offense right now. Kelsey is still, the leading target earner over in KC. However, Noah Gray's getting the red zone looks. Hawk, now that, not with the injury, and I love TJ Hawkinson too. You're picking 4 of my favorite tight ends of all time here, so it's tough.
Yeah.
But if gun to my head had to pick, I'd go Bowers, Jonnu, Kelsey, Hawk.
Okay.
I
think with the injury at quarterback, dude, if it's fucking Desmond Ridder, I know what that shit was to Kyle Pitts. I know it's a different offense that moves through Bowers. I think I would probably go. I'd probably go Kelsey, Bowers, Hawk, Jonnu for me. What about you, Eric?
Ooh,
I'm always the high guy on Kelsey, though.
Throwing the Bowers shade. It's still Bowers, even if it's Desmond Ridder, right? Sorry to the Minshew media crowd, but
mid.
Yeah, so is Gardner Minshew, is my point. And we're seeing Brock Bowers out here as the clear tight end 1, in spite of, let's say, average, if not below average quarterback play. So for me, I would go Bowers, and then I would go Kelsey, then I would go Hawk, and then I would go Jonnu. I'm with Jake. I love me some Jonnu Smith. My concern, though, is that we've seen a very concentrated Dolphins offense through the entirety of the Tua McDaniels era, and so far this is the outlier where he's producing, right? So we don't have as big of a sample of top tier production out of Jonnu, but I certainly think he's capable of keeping it going. I want to see it before I put him in front of some of these greats.
Yeah, I totally get it, and it's just been absurd, man. Like, you got to be so frustrated a lot of weeks if you're a Tyreek Hill manager right now, because John has just been that guy. I mean, he really has. He fits this offense great, and I know there are a lot of people kind of shouting his name from the rooftops this offseason. So, good on you, and Michael, thanks for the question, man. And yeah, hopefully O'Connell does come back soon. If I knew O'Connell would be back this week, I'd probably put him above. Bowers above Kelsey.
What a time to be alive.
Desmond Ritter is better than Aiden O'Connell. I will.
No way.
Aiden O'Connell is so bad.
Like, I mean, even if you want to split hairs about where you go there, like the fact that we're in 2024 saying that Aiden O'Connell is a positive influence on a skill positions ranking, it's kind of wild.
We're down bad. We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
We're hurting.
Every time that that's the time of season we're in. That's why we have to have these discussions on the program, on the website as well. Make sure you guys are checking out the Fantasy Football Advice Network. Make sure you're checking out inbetweenmedia.com. We got a bunch of great written content on there. Jake, you just had a couple entertainment pieces here released recently. I think you did an esports piece, and then this upcoming week we got a Hall of Fame debate article, whether you're for or against all the nominees this year.
Yep. I made an argument, mostly statistical, but there's some references to people's off the field issues because the Hall of Fame has made that a bigger deal over the years. But I made a case for and against all 25 semifinalists. I shouldn't say all 25 because you'll read the article. There was one I just couldn't make an argument against him.
Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate that. Make sure you're also following Jake at Perry_FF. Eric is at Fantasy Nav. You can find more of his work over FTN, also with the Fantasy Alarm folks, and right here on IBT Media at 9:35 p.m. Eastern Time, usually on Tuesday nights. We're a day early this week because of the holiday. Easiest way to support me, just subscribe to the channel. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy this type of content. Thank you all so much for watching. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy it. Be safe. Make sure if you guys are indulging a little bit, you got a designated driver. And if not, just pass out. Have a good time. You know what I mean? Stay where you are. Stay limber. Keep your head on a swivel out there. But enjoy this next week of fantasy football. We'll see you back next Tuesday. Until then, y'all know what to do. Keep it in between. Thank you.